Hey, everybody, listen, we had some technical difficulties. We're going to try this one more again. As we were trying to say a moment ago, as we were live, but there was no live noise coming out. We're going to try this one more time. We're going to see and make sure that we are getting some audio out. Yes, there we go. There we go. We have audio this time. For whatever reason, our audio didn't want to go out. For whatever reason, we had no sound. So we had to get everything straight. So listen, we're going to go through this real quick. I'm going to let Evangelist say whatever she may have real quick, and we're going to get real brief. We're not going to be on here real long. She has to work in the morning. So we're going to get out of here real quick. Those of you that did join us a moment ago, we only got on because there were some things going on with our audio, but we're back. So we're back, we're back. As we said, we were not on Sunday because of the fact that we were in North Carolina. We were out there for two things. Only one of the things we were able to take care of, and that was the one that was utmost importance, and that was the dedication, the offering back up of my wife's nephew, my nephew as well. His father requested that I come and that I offer his son back up to the Lord. And we had a blessed time doing that. I felt very honored. So did my wife as well. She was also part of the participation of it. That Friday, we got a chance to sit down with both of the parents, with the father and the mother, to make sure that Thursday, I'm sorry, because it was that Friday that we actually did the dedicatorial service. The mother, she is in church. The grandmother's in church, and not only are they in church, but they have a relationship with Christ. The grandfather wanted to be there. His job wouldn't allow him to get off. He was ecstatic and excited because he wanted to be there as well, to be a part of the child being offered back up to the Lord, because it was important to the grandfather, just as it was to both grandmothers, that this baby were offered back to Christ. They knew that it was important. They knew that it was needful that this child be offered to the Lord. So that says a lot. It says a lot about the father. It says a lot about the mother. So with that being said, we sat down, we talked, we got with them. We made sure that there were no barriers that needed to be crossed, because we wanted to be certain that we weren't doing something that they felt was out of place with the mother, because I wasn't sure what the religious background was. And that's just the type of person that I am when it comes down to being a leader, regardless of it being my nephew or not. So we did. And with that being said, it was a wonderful experience. And then we all had an opportunity to sit down and laugh, and had a wonderful meal. We laughed about some other stuff as well, but that's a whole nother conversation. So we talked about and been talking about let's get free. And by this time, all of us should be at a place in our life. I don't care if you're 15, if you're 55, or if you're 95, you should be at a place that things should no longer have you in prison. In the other video that you wasn't able to hear the audio, I went into the 6th chapter of the Gospel of John, and Jesus were speaking as John began to talk about him initiating and begin to break down the fact of the bread and the wine, or his body being offered as a sacrifice, and them eating of his body and drinking of his blood. And there were many that thought he was speaking of cannibalism, but he wasn't speaking of cannibalism. He was speaking of the fact of the new covenant that would be instituted after before, and what will be taking place with them following him. And because there were many that didn't ask and didn't take the humble road of following the initiative to find out what was he saying, what was he talking about. They said it was a hard saying. They couldn't understand it. They didn't realize what it was. And many of the disciples that followed him, they left. And you got many people that come into the church and they hear what the man or the woman of God is saying, what the leader is teaching, and what's going on. And because they don't take the time to ask, what do you really mean? What it is that you're talking about? What it is that the Bible is saying? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to follow it that way? What is the Bible really saying? You mean to tell me I can't do this and I can't do that, and why I can't live like this and why I can't live like that, and why I can't continue doing this? Why I can't continue doing it? But they never take the humble role. Well, if I can't do that, then I don't want to follow the Lord. Y'all still doing this, and you got all of these hypocrites in the church. Well, there's a lot of things that we got to begin to take off, because then Paul breaks it down when you get into the epistles, when you get into the 21 letters there. Paul, Peter, James, and John, they begin to break down what was said in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And if they would have just asked Jesus what he meant when he talked about they would eat of his flesh and drink of his blood, he was talking about the bread that would represent his broken body, the wine that would represent his shed blood. But they never took the time, so they walked off. They stopped believing. They wouldn't do it. And then you have his own followers that were there. Some of those that stuck with him, some left, but yet those 12, Peter, the big mouth one, the hook mouth one, the one that always was there, they understood what he was talking about, and they continued to follow because they understood what was going on. And many in the body of believers are still that way today, because we want to get up and we want to speak in tongues and we want to holler about this our power, and this will get us where we got to get it. You want to go in your unknown language, and you still stuck in some of the mess that you in. You still stuck in the situations that you in. You still stuck in the relationships you in. You still stuck in the mentalities. You still stuck in the emotional state. You still stuck in the psychological state. You still stuck in the physical situation. You still stuck on some of the jobs that you're in, because that ain't gonna get you out of it. Are you really making an application of what's there? So we talking about let's get free. There's a way to get free, because there's an application of being able to do it. That's like getting a test, but you didn't study for the test, and the teacher to put the test before you, but you're now looking off of somebody else's paper, but you have not learned the information, so you don't know how to apply it when you get out of school. So now when you get the job that requires you to know this information, you don't know what you're doing, so now you mess it up. That's why there are many doctors that have all of these malpractice suits against them, because somebody else took their test. Somebody else gave them the information, and they have no idea what they're doing. That's why a lot of people are going to jail, because you got lawyers that are practicing law that have no idea of what they're doing. They can talk the jargon, but they don't know what to do when it's time to present the case inside a court. That's why you got C, D, you got E-level lawyers, because they have no idea. Welcome, cuz. How y'all doing? Heidi, how you doing, Larry? So you got to be careful of what you're doing, because you got to know it. Same thing when it comes down to psychologists. We just had this online lady in Pennsylvania, here in Florida, was practicing because the husband or the wife had died, and they were giving advice online, and now they took all of their credentials, because one was certified and the other one was not certified as a counselor. So now the state was paying them money to counsel folk, but the wife died. And they were both wives. They were wives of another wife, and the wife had died, and she was going off somebody else's credential, and they were giving counsel, and weren't supposed to be giving counsel, and using somebody else's credential, and they were getting paid for. So you got to be careful what you're doing. Have you really taken the time to get free? And these folk were being messed up. And folk were still going through the same thing they were going through. And they were wondering why they were still suffering the way they were suffering, because they were getting counsel from somebody that did not know what in the devil they were doing. So I'm saying that way be nice. So you got to be careful. So we're not free. We're still imprisoned in a lot of stuff. And I'm talking natural. I'm using, everyday language instead of using big jargon and big talk and big language and big words, because it don't make sense. Because if you're free, the cage is open. You opened the cage a long time ago. And a lot of us are still where we are, because we're used to being in the cage. We're afraid of walking around free. We're used to being imprisoned in our mind. That's why we're institutionalized in a lot of ways, more than people are institutionalized that have been behind bars, that have been in prison, that have been in jail, that have been in federal penitentiary. That's why some folk continue to cycle. You continue the cycles that you're in, because you're drawn to the same types of socialism, same types of spirits, because you're used to being that way. You don't want to break free of these things. But then there are other folk, when they get out, they were never locked up because they never allowed themselves to be locked into the system that caged you in that, because they recognized they made the mistake they made. And they understood that now I got to pay the penalty because I made a choice to do what I did. And if the opportunity presented itself that I can now come from where I am, I don't have to be locked up in what I'm in for the choice that I made, but I got to now pay for the crime that I committed. But I don't have to be imprisoned by the crime that I committed, but I do have to now pay for the crime that I committed. But while I'm here, I can now allow myself to be mentally, psychologically, consciously, subconsciously free, while I may be physically at a place where I cannot roam physically in the place where I used to be. Until I'm able to get there, I can now keep my mind at a place where I'm stable. Are you really there? Do you really want to be free? Are you still by the things that put you at the place you are because you made the choice, or you allowed yourself to be led by the thing that you were feeling, that you like, that you enjoy, that drawed you to it, the taste, the enjoyment, the fulfillment, the hunger? What gravitated you to that? What brought you there because your eye got caught by it? It was what you allowed yourself to be drawn in by. You participated in it. You got familiar with it. You made the choice to continue to play with it. You got to a place to where you liked it, and in liking it, now you begin to enjoy it. You got a hunger for it. You got a desire for it. You begin to now lay with it. When you laid with it, it was because you made the choice to stay there. Or you allow somebody to now draw you in by grooming you enough to make you feel like this is what you wanted, even though you didn't. They help you to now create a hunger, a desire, a taste, a want for it. They made you feel and believe that this is where you should be. And you begin to learn how to enjoy it, even though that's not what you wanted, because another part of you was saying, I really want to do something else, but this really look good. Maybe I ought to go out on and do this. And you became satisfied with it. You became comfortable in it. And when you became uncomfortable, they found a way to now recreate the same feeling that you had when you initially began to initiate yourself into it. Am I making any sense? You got anything to say on that? Because I want to get out of this real quick. So, getting free of something is recognizing, first of all, what caught your eye, what caught your ear, what caught your mind, what got your attention, what maybe even caught your smell before it even caught your heart, because something drew you to it. And when it drew you to it, you started watching it. You had a desire. That's what created lust. It created a want. It created a hunger. You started going after it because you watched it for a while. Then you started touching it in any way that it was that you touched it, any way that the opportunity presented itself, that you got near it, you got next to it. That's what happens when they call it propaganda, because they got to present it to you. They got to keep showing it. They got to keep allowing you to be able to make it visible. They got to make where it's now presented, where now the mind continues to think about it. They got to put it in a position to where if it ain't the mind, it's audibly heard. So now the mind visually sees it. It's presented in a way to now it creates something within you that you now have a desire. It creates a taste for it. It creates a want for it, a desire for it. Now you want to be able to now bother mama, bother daddy, bother your man, bother your woman. You get somebody now to allow you. Don't allow yourself to find somebody that has it and they allow you to either play with it, touch it, ride it, get a chance to experience it. Now you try to find a way to get it. And if you don't have it, sometimes you go take it. Or they allow you to use it for a while. Exactly. That's what happens with drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. It creates something in you that you never had. It creates a taste, a desire, a hunger. Same thing with the things that happen when we experience another human being. And the cycle continues. Words create things within us if it is said the right way, because it becomes enticing. And if it's enticing enough and it is said enough, it seduces us. That's what the Bible calls seducing spirits. If the words are said enough, they do the same thing on jobs to draw you in. And once they draw you in, now you find that all of what they presented that you will get, you don't have. You can't do. It is now way down the line. Something happened and changed. They got you in to do the job they want you to do. You don't get the pay that they say that they were going to give you. They got to wait before they allow the benefits to begin to kick in that they say they were going to allow you to have. But they're getting the work out of you that they said they want you to do. And you now present it and you now perform the work. But you can't get all of the benefits coming back to what they said. You've given them their 90 days, but now there's no benefit packet coming in return. And when you go look for another job, now they're saying things in return about your performance that's not true. So you can't now switch jobs. You feel stuck. You feel imprisoned. You feel caged. You feel like there's no way out. You feel like you're in bondage. You feel like that there's no way that I can make it. You feel like you have to settle. You feel like you have sold. You feel like this is all there is. You feel like this is the end. You feel like you've made a mistake. And even when God have opened the door, you still looking at the fact, I don't feel like starting all over again. I might as well stay where I am and do what I'm doing. Because you're afraid of being free.
It's funny that you said that, because whenever you was talking about, as you was talking about freedom. Tonight on my way going to Taco Bell, there was a little bitty, could have been a Yorkie, little bitty dog, just running. And I was thinking about that because whenever you think about a dog, that's how you know it belonged to somebody.
Right.
So something happened that this dog was loose. And this dog was so free, he was running into traffic. Scared me because I was trying to make sure I did not hit him. And it was other cars pulling over, trying to get to the place to where they could pull over safely, but try to catch the dog. And 9 times out of 10, it got loose because they were doing the fireworks, and we know the animals get spooked quickly whenever at this time of the year. And I said that because of the fact he had so much freedom that he was running into traffic.
Wow.
And a lot of times, whenever we talk about freedom, and we don't think about the fear that tends to come with freedom, you get what I'm saying? It's the fact of the unknown. Exactly. Or what's going to happen, or can I trust myself? So whenever you look at that and you think about it, because think about it, if you start your own business, because you just talked about jobs. If you start your own business, and you know that you're not productive in someone else's business.
Right.
How productive are you going to be with your business?
Exactly.
Are you going to put the time in for your brand and for your name to be put out there? So whenever you think about that, are you going to put the extra work in that it takes for your brand to stand out? Because when you start your own business, there's a lot of work to go into it.
Right.
So if you don't be good, as you say, a good steward, let me go ahead and say it that way. If you're not a good steward whenever you're on someone else's job, are you going to be a good steward with your own business? Because what tends to happen is your business go down.
Right.
Because the neglect that you do somewhere else, because now you got structure, you're not going to have that structure. The structure that you're going to have is the structure that you put in place.
Right. Think about what you said. And I just want to jump in because you just brought something to mind real quick so you can carry on. Think about the conversation you just had while we were out of town about that same thing. And that situation was similar to what somebody shared with you out of town. And I'm going to say that way because it's somebody that we both know, and they shared it with both of us. And The bad part about that is that they helped them, they shared with them. It was somebody else's dream, and they showed them how to get everything set up, showed them how to get it all structured and everything like that. But the bad part about that is that they wanted the other party to carry out their dream with their structure. They sat back and did nothing because they just wanted to reap the benefits of what was going to come in while the other party did all the work for them. And it goes along with what you're saying is that you won't have that on somebody else's job, but you want the benefit of the financial stability and the financial freedom, but you want somebody else to do it for you, but you had a problem because you was doing that for somebody else, and now you have it, and this party have showed you how to do it, and they were willing to help you to do it, but it's your idea. It is your dream, but you want me to push your dream while you sit back and do nothing, and now you're upset because I'm not pushing your dream and doing all the leg work for you and doing the work for you, but you mad, but it's your dream. But I told you that I got all of the stuff set up here, but you need to get there and do the work. Now I'll work with you, but I'm not doing the work. So that goes along to what you're saying, because you want to be free. You have the freedom. You have it. You just got to get there and do the work. I'll work with you, but I'm not doing all the work because I've set it up for you. Now you just got to get there and do it. And it goes along with what you say to what you just said, that we're afraid. The other party not afraid. They just don't want to do the work. And that goes to what you said. And it just came to mind because it made sense to what you were saying. Some people do have it. Some people do want it. But some people don't want to do it. They want somebody else to do it. It's one thing if you already got it set up and now it's working and you can sit back and now go back and monitor it. It's another thing when it ain't set up. You want somebody else to set it up, because if you want me to set it up, then I'm going to do it for myself and I'm going to reap all the benefits and you ain't getting nothing. Because if I got to get there and do it, then it's mine. But that's not my dream, and I really applauded the other party because they could have absolutely took everything, but they chose not to because it wasn't their dream. So why should I work your dream when it ain't my dream? All I was doing was trying to help you push your dream, but you don't have a whole lot of people that's willing to help somebody else push their dream and don't want nothing but to help you push your dream.
We got people in ministry that won't help you push a vision.
Exactly.
Because they want to take the vision that God has given you.
Exactly.
Not let me help you structure and push. Mm-hmm. No, let's do it my way.
Right.
Because it's a difference. And you know, one of the biggest things that I look at in the body of Christ, we have to remember that there's someone out there watching everything that we do.
Exactly.
And I commend that person because of the fact, as you said, I've seen some stuff through them that I don't see in a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And you don't have a lot of people in or outside of the church that's willing to push your dream, right, your vision, to help you get where God is getting ready to take you. It's not about me being blessed from what God is giving you. It's about you being blessed. Because see, sometimes I think we mix it up. Mm-hmm. Because whenever God bless you, he bless me.
Right. You're right. Oh, I agree with you. I agree. I'm just being quiet, so I've even got excited and took over what you said, so that's why I'm being quiet.
So whenever we look at it and we think about it, because I also look at it like whenever young people go off to school, and I ain't even gonna lie to you, all of us that been young before, we done been teenagers, we done been young adults, any of us that's over 40, we already know that we done traveled down those roads.
You just trying to call me old.
So when you look at it and you think about it, let's take a child that come from a strict home.
Right.
With strict structure. Mm-hmm. They get off the college and they don't have your standards, your structure, and then we wonder why they go buck wild because of the fact they don't have you there to keep them in line.
Right.
So what tends to happen is they don't know what to do with their freedom.
Right.
So whenever we talk about less being free, what are we putting into place now for you to learn how to live and walk in freedom?
Right.
What does living and walking in freedom looks like? Because if you look at our society right about now, it is impossible. It should be impossible, because I'm going to say, some things I just don't even touch on, but I'm going to say it. It should not be that 15 and 16 and 17-year-old kids fought for us to have the little freedoms that we do have. For someone to come back in 2024, because that's not a long time ago. And I think that's what people tend to forget, is that these things did not happen a long time ago. The 50s and the 40s and the 60s, these things were going on. These things were just starting to come out of play in the 70s when me and you came along. So these things did not happen 100 years ago. These things were recent.
Yeah, because just yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, Andrew Young was just down here in St. Peter, and they were celebrating 60 years ago that they actually celebrated when they actually did sign into play what we have as far as our freedoms being desegregated and all these other things. And all of that happened down in St. Petersburg. And they were just talking about this just either yesterday or the day before yesterday.
It happened in Texas. In the corner. In Texas, it was in the corner. Because
not in Texas, in St. Petersburg.
I could have sworn they said Texas.
No, that happened here, where he got beat down because Dr. King had to come down here in Florida. And that's where they actually did it. It pushed it for them to go it on, for London to go it on and sign it into play. That's how they got it into play. It started off in Texas, but it wasn't pushed and finally signed until it came down here when the white folk was in the pool with the black folk and throwing acid in the pool, and that's when it was all on television. And I'm just getting the bits and pieces to it, because if it had not happened here in Florida, it was on TV, them folks said, we don't want that kind of America. And that's when Lyndon B. Johnson went on and signed the bill. Yes, it started in Texas, but it went all the way through until Dr. King came down here after he sent Andrew Young down here, and he got beat down after the other man had, Mr. Jackson got beat down first. And then Andrew Young came down because he got beat down. And then the Ku Klux Klan went into the black folk neighborhood, and all the women came outside saying, I'm going to love everybody. And they ain't go out there fight. Went into a whole black neighborhood. And that's how everything got started to what you're saying now. Had it not happened down in that little part of town, here down here, they, they had the little statues and all of that other stuff. And they had him step in the little black ink to illustrate his footprints of where he had walked at and everything like that. And they was the fact that now he's 92 years old, but that happened 64 years ago on that day. It was July 4th that all of that had taken place. But, it's the fact that you talking about the little freedoms, and they were 15. And I think he was like 16, 17 years old when that happened. So you're right. How can that be when our kids don't understand it? And I agree with you.
They cannot identify with it. They can't identify with it because somewhere in between our children and us, it got lost. Right. Because it should be important. There's no reason that no person should be saying, I don't care who they got running for a political office. Your vote still count, because somebody got the brakes beat out of them. Somebody lost their life just for you to have that right, for you to have that freedom to walk in that booth and to write on that piece of paper, because it was important to them. So whenever we look at it and we think about it and we think about the freedom, think about the fear that they had, but yet it was still important. Whenever we look at being free, we should think about, is it important to me for me to be free from this? And am I going to be able to actually walk in my freedom? And can I help someone else walk in freedom? Not because of the fact it sounds good. Because a lot of times I'm learning is that when things sound good, everybody want to jump on the bandwagon. But whenever it comes to putting in the work,
nobody want
to put in the work. I remember whenever I drove trucks for a living, and as much as I told them, I said, I don't care. I'm going to tell you, I don't want to be dirty. I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that. I could get out there up under that truck, and I could walk through a pre-trip better than most of the boys that I was in class with. And I learned how to do that from a car.
Exactly.
From a person that could not read, but could tell me what my parts were.
Exactly.
Because I had to be able to tell whenever I had ran into some issues exactly what was going on and what part I thought it was. See, whenever we talk about freedom, we got to be able to identify. Some of us don't want nobody to show us anything, don't want nobody to show us how to identify what some of the bondages that we're in. Why? Exactly. Because we so busy feeling that we're free when in fact we're actually not. Some of us are like, what is it? The hog that got dressed, got cleaned up, but because still a hog and when it got in the mud playing, that's how right. Some of us are. Is that because of the fact we feel that we can't do no better. It ain't that you don't feel that you can't do no better. It's the fact the fear won't allow you to see yourself better.
That's right.
And I look at that whenever I look at people that I come in contact with on a daily basis that have issues, and you ask them, would you like some type of therapy, or would you like this service to be offered to you? No, I don't want that service. Well, that means you like where you at. Exactly. You like the situation you in. You like the state that you're in. See, whenever you don't like the state that you're in, it's not until you get sick and tired of being at the state that you're at. That's like a woman being in an abusive relationship. When she gets tired of being in that relationship, eventually she's going to get up and do something. Because she's not going to think about how am I going to pay the bills, how I'm going to feed the kids, am I going to have money left over, will the kids be able to have shoes and clothes? Why she's not even going to think about that, because what she's going to think about is I'm tired of getting my head whacked on, I'm tired of being cussed out, I'm tired of being punched around, I'm tired of not having this. She's going to remove herself from that situation because now she has got tired of it. Yeah, and the fear is gone now.
Right, and it's no more about getting into bed. It's no more about the sex. It's no more about making up. It ain't no more about just letting him do what he want to do. And I think that's what we all have to get to that place. And I'm glad you said that, because you have to be more than just sick and tired of being sick and tired and just saying you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, because you have to do something. You got to move something. You can't just say, I'm going to get up and clean the house and all you're saying, and you move one of the things. You can't say you still ain't clean it up. You can't say you don't like something to be dirty and you still living in dirt. You can't say you can't stand filth and you still living in filth, walking in filth. At some point and at some juncture, you got to stop it. You know, you can't say that somebody love you. And love is more than just words. Love is more than just gifts. Love is more than just making sure bills are paid and da 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 yada yada. There's some things you can't say that you're gonna change, and you just for the moment you do what is necessary to make it look like it, but you don't stick with it. It goes back to what we just said the other day to our kids. You got to be consistent. If there's no consistency in it, then there's no change. Because if you're making a cake, you know what your cake should look like, because it should change from one form to another form to get to the place that you needed to be, to know now the next step that you got to do to get it to where you wanted to be before you get ready to put it in the pan, to put it into the oven. It's got to be at that place, because it got to have a certain consistency before you add the next set of ingredients. Because if it called for it to be beat, whipped, and all this other stuff before you add this ingredient here to make it, because the certain cakes got to be done a certain way. Right? If that makes sense to what I'm saying, to what you're saying. So if that's what's happening, you're right. So, and I don't care if you are in love. Love has some components to it. And in those components, there are some things that's going to happen. And even if you are in love, changes still have to now really unfold in layers. Really got to come off, get to the next stage to say we're going forward. If you're planning on continuing in this particular relationship to move to the next level, if that's where you're going. If you deciding to stay, then some things got to change. But if ain't going to be no change, and you know this ain't going to change, then you got to make a change yourself, and not just change your address, not just change the locks on the door. You understand? You got to do some things that's going to say, this is what's going to be different. And you got, I guess the most important thing to what you just said, you got to stick to it, and you got to stand with it, and you got to hold your ground. That's why Paul said to stand fast. Standing fast means hold your ground. Don't advance. Don't allow them to advance. When they get ready to advance, you got to have something in place to make sure they can't penetrate. There should be no penetration till you have made that choice that this is it. I've had enough. I'm gonna say this so you can finish what you were saying. If you use what R. Kelly said, if R. Kelly said what he said, it meant what he said. When a woman fed up, and we all know, I grew up with a bunch of women. When she fed up, she fed up. When she done, if she let me put it this way: if a woman is really done, we know a woman is really done. I don't care what you gonna do, what you gonna say. I don't care what you buy. You can put $1,000,000 in her hand, she'll butt it up right in front of you and keep on going, and it won't mean her a bit of thing. I know this for a fact because I done seen it. Wasn't a million, but I done seen a woman butt up a whole lot of money and walked off. And I can't tell you what she really said when she said it because it wasn't no good words.
So tonight we're going to get ready. We're going to stop here and we will pick up on Tuesday evening.
I thought you said it was Monday and Friday because you changed the days.
Okay.
No, you changed
I haven't put it out yet.
No, I'm just saying you changed the days. Now you done went back to Tuesday. So you got pick the days that you gonna do this on that you know you can stay consistent on. Because I need to make sure. Because I can go whatever date. Because they won't give me a job. My only job is ministry. So I need to know because you're the one that have a job.
So starting, I wasn't going to do it this week because I have to put a flyer out.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Starting not next week, but the week after, we will be changing the dates of the seat at the table. The seat at the table.
I just need to know.
We'll be going to Monday nights and Friday nights because of the way I do schedule, the way I work, and the way my schedule is, so that we can have some consistency with the seat at the table. So it won't be next week. Please keep an eye out for the flyers. The flyers will be getting ready to go out over next week so that we will be preparing for the following week. So I pray that you've heard something in your hearing tonight. We will pick this conversation up. We would have had our hour, but unfortunately we ran into some technical difficulties going on with the streaming service. We couldn't figure out why there was no audio, so we had to work out the kinks.
And we were trying not to get mad because I'm not gonna lie, I was about to get upset. I thought our little microphones that went out. We were thinking the computer went out. They were, you know what? Let's just turn the computer off. Let's try that. What happened? Thought we were going to get the other computer. So I guess God wanted us to do it. I guess He needed us to just shut it down for a moment and come back on.
So please don't feel that we cut you short, but unfortunately we were having technical difficulties.
And she got to work in the morning, y'all.
Yes.
No, honestly, I'm being real talk. Evangelists do have to be at work in the morning for 6, and we get up about 4:30 to make sure she is prepped and prepared and got her coffee and everything like that, so that she's actually woke for in the morning. And I did say we would, come on for a brief moment and try this one more. And if there's no audio, we would have just waited until next week to do it if the Lord was willing, because I know she's off Monday and Tuesday. So listen, as she just said, and I'm doing this so that she can get ready to go get her bath and everything like that. So listen, we've been doing this for about 3 or 4 weeks now, this topic. I do this because this is me. This is what God called me to do. And it's time that we all get to the place that we are free. I try to make it as humorous as I can. I be as real as I can. I'm serious in all of that I do, even when I'm being silly and funny. You can see my face may look angry sometimes, but it's not. I'm very serious about the soul of men. This last thing, as you heard us say, even in this political race with things that are out there in the voting and everything, and even with them trying to push our present president out, if that is the case and you have a person that was the former president that pushed us back, and they had already said that he would set us back 200 years and all these other things, that he's still running now, and even with some of the Democrats saying that they would wish that he sat down. Here's my thing. And I want y'all to push it out there as far as you can. If you feel that he can't do it and nobody has stepped up yet from the Democratic side that they feel could be in his place to run the country, but yet you still are allowing somebody that is doing things that you know is setting us back and setting us up for a fall and already exposed with our secrets to put us in position that we can get attacked. And I'm prior service as well, that can cause us harm and danger and put us at attack at any time by any country, uh, and running their mouth, you know, vivaciously, that is, and vicariously, that is just crazy. Then what you need to do is find a candidate that you know will lead the country, first of all, as a man or as a woman, if you feel a woman is good enough to do the job, but as a man that's going to stand and defend this country, because we all take an oath, whether you're military or whether you're the president of the United States, that you're going to guard and you're going to stand behind the Constitution against foreign and domestic. And that is not what our former president has done. But here's the key to it. Ladies, you have a mouth, you have a vote. At one point in time in history, you couldn't vote at all. Now you can. And if you're going to stand behind somebody that don't respect you as a person and don't respect you as a woman, why would you vote for somebody of that caliber, of that mindset, of that mentality, of even being in a position that wants you to stand with them, that don't even see you as anything but a thing? And you're not. You're more than that. And then, even as a person of color, and you as a person of non-color, as a Caucasian woman, why would you want somebody to even serve you like that as well? You've lost your mind. So how can you be free when you have somebody that want to imprison you and already talking about it? So at the end of the day, think about it. Do you really want your freedom? Do you really care about your freedom? Are you really free? They have no clue of who God is, Christ is, what the word is, don't even understand the word, and that's what you want to stand with. So at the end of the day, think about it. We'll come back with you with a new topic on next week when we come back with you. So God bless you. God keep you. Have an awesome night. Be well, rest good, sleep well, and trust the Lord in all things. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 11:25 on this first Sunday of this 7th month. As we start this last half of this year, let's end this year well. And let's start this second half of the year off better than we ended the first half of the year. God bless.